Hey, it's Mark Ferguson with Investor More, and I'm outside my office in this commercial building that I own. And as you can see, our parking lot is almost done. There's still a little bit of work to be done. It's taken over a month because it just keeps raining here, so it's hard to get the work done on it. But it looks so much better than it did before. And we'll kind of show you what this building looked like even before I bought it 5 years ago, what it looked like before we did the lot. And we're also going to talk about some of the crazy stuff that has happened in this lot, because this lot has just had so much drama. It's just ridiculous. So I'll have a full video of the whole parking lot process coming up soon once it's all done. But for now, we'll show some before and afters, some aerial drone shots, and talk about different things like this truck who decided to park here. We just had a number of truck issues. And yesterday, apparently, after I left, you can kind of see it here, a truck decided just to do burnouts across our newly striped lot. So you can see right there, our new stripes are already dirty, but it's very weird. Just a black truck came over here as soon as I left from my golf league and parked here for a second. I've got it on cameras, and proceeded to do a burnout and drive off. And I did a live on TikTok last week in my office. If you guys like car talk, like with my exotic cars and stuff, you should follow me on TikTok, Invest for More there. And during my live, a black truck came over here and did the same thing. And I tried to download the replay and it wasn't working, but I'm trying to figure out if it's the same truck and if I'm being stalked by a burnout truck or what's going on there. But that's just part of the story of this parking lot. We'll go over so many other things that have happened, and we'll be able to show you kind of what this building looked like before too, because it is so different now than what it was before. It's a 68,000 square foot building with my office. Used to have another office where my garage is. We redid the stand studio. El Cielo is a restaurant, plus there's a grocery store on the other side of the building. All right, starting off with the truck issue. Trucks love to park here. We do have signs posted, and we do have a tow company who will come and tow trucks if we want them to. I feel bad about that because it's very expensive. And usually we just try to give them a note and, you know, let them know they can't park here. I think I've seen that truck parking over there before, but I'm not sure. I've had other trucks park here along all these lines, just blocking tons of spaces, and I've left them notes, and one guy got super mad and came and yelled at me at the office. I have some of that on video. Another guy just tore up the sticker and littered after that happened. But it's clearly marked, and a lot of people that go to the apartment, there's a sign right there that tells them too as they walk by that this is business parking only. And a lot of people said, hey, why don't we just fence off the entire lot? Well, we have a restaurant, grocery store, lots of businesses. We can't just fence and gate off the lot. And as you can see, we have trucks that do use the lot for business who deliver to the restaurant, to the grocery store. So the other thing that was interesting, and maybe people can tell me, this truck has got no plates on it. Is that normal? Unless I'm missing it. Shouldn't there be a plate somewhere? Obviously, I'm not an expert, but that seemed kind of weird to me. All right, so here's what the building looked like before I even bought it. It's kind of cool. Google still has these images, and you can see the wonderful apartments next to me. They don't look any better now. And before, this building had been vacant for at least 8 years, and people obviously had been using it as their kind of own storage parking lot. The owner of the building lived, I believe, in Texas, if I remember right, so wasn't really there. And that apartments used to have a carport. They're gone now. But if we scroll up, it's kind of cool too, because we can see different time periods. And this is going forward in time just a little bit, I believe. And you can see there's more just storage cars used here. So I'm showing this too, just to show the condition of the building, what it looked like before. It looks so much better now. But also, a lot of people ask me, why don't I just let people park here? Why don't I just let trucks park here? Well, it just gets out of control. And when I first bought the building, there were probably 3 or 4 abandoned cars by those trees just sitting there. And so we had to get them towed, taken out of here, and it is just an ongoing problem and issue. And the dance studio is a dance studio for little girls, and they are not happy if there's abandoned cars taking up their spots or trucks taking up their spots. There's a restaurant, again, same thing. They're not happy if people are taking up their parking spots, and people think just because the lot is empty in the morning that it's empty all day, but it does fill up in the afternoon and evening, especially when the dance studio has multiple classes going on or special events, and there have been issues with parking. So yes, it's an issue, and yes, we try to keep our lot looking nice, and it's much better now than when we first got it. And then also we had some issues too. I actually forgot about this. You can see the fireworks stand over there, and when I first bought the property, they just put up their fireworks stand, didn't say anything, and they did that the first year. And I went talked to them and like, hey, what's going on? Do you have permission to do this? And like, oh yeah, we just do this every year. It's fine. I'm like, okay. And who have you talked to? Like, oh, we've talked to the owner. I'm like, well, I'm the owner. And like, oh, okay. So they didn't talk to the owner, but then I'm like, you're fine this year. You can leave it. Just next year, talk to me before you set it up. I'll talk to the tenants because it is taking up valuable parking too for the coffee shop, restaurant, and grocery store. And so the very next year, they just set up again without asking me or talking to anybody. I went over, talked to them, like, oh, we talked to the tenants. I'm like, talk to the tenants. They hadn't talked to anybody, so I told them to leave. And the tenant said they didn't really want them there either because it does take up their parking. So they moved to another spot. But just, it can be frustrating just, people's thinking it's okay just to use other stuff without even talking to people. So here's one of the semis that was parked here a while ago. I got a lot of flack for that one, but he was there for 32 hours, just parked there. He lived in the apartments next door. I think we saw him walk over there. I put a sticker on it, and he didn't leave forever. We were thinking about getting it towed, but I left it. And then when he left, he just tore the sticker up and dropped it right on the ground, which was pretty frustrating. And we've had this issue over and over with trucks, and there are signs all over that say no parking, and should be pretty obvious. But they keep doing it. So a lot of people say we should just charge for trucks to park here, but like I've said, the dance studio needs those spaces. Those spaces fill up in the evening and the night. And that's not the only trucker who's been here. We've had other ones as well. This is the guy who parked in the exact same spot for a very long time, and I had went over there, and I've tried to knock on trucks' doors, talk to them. Usually they're not there. And so he wasn't there. I left a green sticker on his door, and this is him yelling at me and saying that it's not my lot. And I said, yes, it is my lot. And he said, well, anybody can park here. It's not illegal. I said, no, it's private property. You can't park here. And he just kept arguing with me. And he'd been there quite a while. He also was visiting people in the apartments next door, he said. So then he threw his green sticker on the ground as well. So there's the parking lot showing a little bit of when it does fill up with cars. And this was a couple of years ago, and it gets even worse. I think he tried to put the sticker on Alex's car, my nephew who worked for me at the time. And that's me filming him, of course. Then, of course, we've had issues with stolen cars dropped off. That was a stolen car. That's the police showing up right there. While my guys were working on the dumpster fixing it, and while people were here, some people just towed a car over here and dropped it off. And this is a different one, actually. This is when somebody decided to tow a car that didn't work and drop it off in my lot, and they were sleeping in there for a day. Talked to him. Eventually, they were able to tow it and move it. But it's an ongoing situation here. But back to the stolen car one. They just tow strapped it over, completely destroyed the bumper when they did it. The ignition was gone, no plates, of course. And the police showed up right away when I called them, which was rare because usually it takes them a while. But they must have known that car was stolen or been looking for it or were on high alert for stolen cars because they came over right away. And here you can see that car being towed. That's the stolen one. From the apartments somewhere again. A lot of the drama seems to stem from that. And my guys were literally right there, and they told them, hey, you can't park here, and they just kind of looked at him and said, whatever, and then dropped the car off and then left. And so then we called the cops. Cops showed up right away, and they guys were still here, and I saw the guys out my windows in the alley next to the apartments. One of them had a pretty large weapon he was taken out of his truck, and the cops, as soon as the cops lit them up, they took off, and the cops said they're not allowed to chase them. So I don't know what happened with that, if anything did happen, but that's where it got left off with us. So that was a little frustrating that happened, but unfortunately not much we can do with it. And then here was the interesting situation where we had the burnout just yesterday, and that's me leaving in my truck, and the other person just came right away. I don't know if there just was crazy timing or what. I don't know if they see my TikTok or YouTube videos and know I have cars and stuff here and just think it's a good idea to come do burnouts. I don't understand it, because the other truck that did it last week was definitely a black truck, and I wish I could download the live, because I have the replay on TikTok. It says I can download it. It just says error downloading it every time I try, so maybe I'll keep trying. But just a very weird situation. And hopefully if you guys don't hear from me for a while, it's not because I was murdered by the guy in the truck. So I don't think so. I don't think if somebody's planning to commit a crime, it's a good idea to go do burnouts in front of the place where you want to do the crime and draw a ton of attention to yourself. So maybe they're just hoping to get on my YouTube channel, which apparently they accomplished, because now they're on my YouTube channel. So there you go. But here in a second, yeah, here you go. I don't have sound on these cameras, unfortunately. These are just my surveillance cameras on the building. But yeah, they went out pretty good. Luckily there were no, girls walking through the parking lot from the dance studio. So again, just silly stuff people do. And then this next situation is another situation we had was a hit and run in my office. So my parents were actually here visiting with me. This is a few years ago. And we had a gentleman come in who wanted to try and sell us some kind of insurance or something. And we said no. And this is him leaving. And boom, just right into my parents' car. And so he then proceeded to try and leave and had some issues doing that. So we don't know if he had been partaking in some kind of substances or what. We called the police. They came, and the police tried to tell us that, oh, there's nothing we can do as private property. I'm like, I had to argue with the police and tell them, yes, you can do something. And so they finally agreed to, they called his business because we knew where he worked. He was there trying to sell us something. And he didn't respond for hours and hours and hours, then finally responded and came back in and apologized and claimed he didn't know he hit the car. It was pretty ridiculous, but he ended up obviously paying for the damages, and probably because his company made him do it. But that was just a really weird situation. And then, yeah, we kind of can see what he looked like on the cameras too. I mean, if you're going to do a hit and run, you probably shouldn't do it right after you talk to somebody trying to sell them something. Although, if he was drunk or had other issues, maybe it worked out for him by waiting and claiming he wasn't drunk. So that could have been why he did it. So who knows? But yeah, and the police did show up eventually. The car had quite a bit of damage. He hit pretty hard. So good reminder to people, if you're going to back up, look behind you before you do that. And of course, we have more stuff going on. Weird vans in my lot all the time. That van was in my lot for a few days. They would not leave. A guy was kind of living in there. I think he might have been selling drugs based on things we found in the parking lot. Really weird. Had to call the cops on him. Had a guy living in the dumpster for a day who would just walk around yelling at everybody, and that's not a good situation with girls in the dance studio. Then we had these cars that were dropped off and abandoned a couple of years ago with no plates, and we think people were living in there for a while. They wouldn't leave. We stickered them. Eventually had to call the police. When the police came, then they finally left, towed those cars away, and just crazy situations over and over again. So if we don't stay on people, if we don't sticker cars, if we let things just go, then we would have an abandoned car and truck parking lot and no room for the dance studio or restaurant. And the dance studio and restaurant obviously get kind of freaked out and don't enjoy people parking in their lots either. And we do have homeless who walk through, and both the dance studio and us will try and offer them some food, water, whatever, help them out a little bit, but also tell them, hey, you can't stay here. It's not a good spot to be. And that's a reoccurring thing, but something we try and not be jerks about. We don't call the police on the homeless unless they're yelling at people and posing a threat. So that's the craziness for the parking lot for right now. We'll have much more coming up here soon on the reeling of the parking lot too, and just here's some quick drone footage of what it looked like before, although we had some minor repairs there done, you can see beforehand. And then we'll show here a little bit of what it looks like afterwards. But like I said, I'll have a much longer video that shows a lot of the work being done, talk about how much it cost, the whole process, and how long that took too. So here you can see it's still, this was kind of before they're about halfway done. So still some more work was done after this, but still some more work to be done as well. All right, so we'll have lots more videos of my flips, rentals, commercial properties here coming up too, and of course a laundromat, liquor store, all that as well. And eventually we'll have a full parking lot video too when that gets finished.